everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome to Jeremy. Jeremy's our avocado plant. This is a really impromptu video and hopefully it'll be a quick one. I just had a thought as I'm preparing for an audition right now about when is it the right time to action your sides or your scripts, and is there ever a time when it's not necessary? This came up in a workshop, a seminar that I did earlier this week on Tuesday, particularly talking about classical text, but the person who was running it, Sky, made kind of like a offhanded comment about do you have to action every little thing? And her answer to that question was no, it's good to get Shakespeare classical text up on its feet as soon as possible, and, you know, see instinctively what you play once you understand the text. And then if there's anything where you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, then it's useful to go back and action. There are other schools of thought that say you should always action from the very beginning. I did a workshop that was based on that point many moons ago, and that workshop was all about actioning, and the person running that workshop was very much like, you start off by actioning, you make sure you know what you're playing on every single line. So which should you do? In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, obviously go and listen to other people, other teachers, and also try out for yourself in your own practice and see what works best for you. But in my opinion, I think actioning every line is useful. I think when you do that in your process of preparing your text, depends on your process and how you relate to the text, and also what the text is. So for example, the audition that I'm preparing for at the moment, I've kind of dived straight in without actioning first. Part of that is because I need to do accent work. So part of the process of preparing for this particular audition is learning an accent that I don't know as much as possible as I can for the audition. Obviously this accent isn't on my spotlight, so hopefully, like, if they're expecting like native level, they will be sorely mistaken, but I haven't said that I am, so it's fine. I don't even have this accent on my CV. But because I'm going through that accent process, I've had to start, you know, saying the text out loud, you know, listening to the accent, figuring out how it's different from mine. And in the process of doing that, I found, because I'm an actor, I've started playing the scene, really. And I've actually got to the point now where I am starting to think less about the accent and thinking more about the character and their interaction with the other person and things. But now I'm just taking a break, but now I'm about to start the process of going back and figuring out, what is this character trying to do to the other character? What am I playing? What are my actions? And I think even if you are a very instinctive actor and you get up on your feet, I think it's always useful if you have time to go back and action to figure out what it is you are playing. Even if you're instinctively already playing something and you know you're playing something, I think it's useful for two reasons. Firstly, obviously, if you're rehearsing for an audition or whatever with repetition, you can get to a point where you're so used to doing something, you kind of disconnect from it. So knowing what you were playing is a way when you have that disconnection for you to be like, what am I doing again? I've done it so many times, I don't really know what I'm doing. Oh yes, I'm trying to woo or prod or question or castigate or whatever it is. The second reason I think it's useful, and this is kind of a point taken from another workshop I did last week that was more about screen acting, but if you know what you're playing, it gives you the option to change it. When you're acting something instinctively, which is not a bad thing to do. I'm not saying that you should always be more cerebral and like you can never start off with your instinct. Instinct is very important and very powerful. But when you're acting instinctively and then you don't do that process of reflecting and being like, what am I actually doing? I think it then makes it harder to change it up, and that can either be in your practice of just like experimenting with different ways of doing it because it's the instinctive way, so it feels right, you don't really have a starting point to be like, okay, so I'm doing this. What if I did this instead? And secondly, it makes it harder, particularly in auditions when you're being redirected. Oftentimes, most of the time, if you're in an audition, there will be some sort of redirection. The only times I've not really been redirected is like early stages of like West End things, really, or self-tapes. Obviously, you can't get redirection on a self-tape. But in the room, in an audition in the room, I'd say like 90% of the time you should expect to be redirected in some capacity. And the reason that casting directors or panels do that is to see your flexibility and to see how you take direction. So you have to be able to take that direction. If you've got so focused on your instinctual reading of the text and you haven't kind of separated yourself from that instinctive reading enough to be like, okay, this is the thing that I'm actually playing, it's going to be harder in the moment in the room for you to take a redirection because it's instinctive, right? You're going with your instinctive reading. So yeah, that's just my opinion. I think whether it's something you do after the fact, if you're more instinctive, get on your feet, see how you feel actor, or you know, if you are that more cerebral actor, you're probably actioning straight away anyway. I always think it's useful to go back and make sure that everything is actioned if you have the time to within your process and the time restraints of, of the audition, etc. So yeah, I just thought I'd make this quick video because it's just something that's on my mind. Sorry about the lack of production value, but I don't really have production value on my videos anyway. So hopefully if you're an actor, you find this helpful. If you want more information on the actual kind of process of actioning and also of uniting and things like that, I have like a mini playlist. Where will it be? I think it'll be there. We'll go with it's there. It'll be somewhere that goes over kind of how I prepare text for auditions and things, and like how to action, how to unit, all of those things. So I will leave that linked in the description below as well. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Come on down, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, friends. And bye, Jeremy. Bye-bye, Jeremy.